All right. This will be like my last little green button of the year. We are live. Hope everyone has had a good week. This is always like the wrap up week, right? Oh my gosh, the holidays are coming, so I need to figure out what I need the rest of the year before people stop answering their telephones. Or did I holiday shop? I mean, that's me right now. Did I buy any presents for anybody? And what do I need to do? So that'll be fun to try and figure out over the next couple of days. Um, I see everyone logging in. We have great participation, so I'm going to give some people time to go ahead and log in. We are doing things a little differently today, just a little fun. We're going to, well, quite frankly, rather than me ask questions, I'm going to have our suppliers ask questions, right? These webinars have been amazing. I was looking at the stats, and Will alluded to it a little bit last week on our webinar. This is like our 39th or 40th webinar since we started doing them towards the end of March. And over 9,000, just under 10,000 people have registered for the webinars. We've had just about 3,000 unique views coming into the webinars throughout the year. So it's been pretty awesome, and that's due to all of the suppliers that are logging in right now. Everyone that's coming in to hear what our operators and our friends have to say. So as I was telling Casey and Tomas earlier, these webinars don't happen unless you keep logging in year after year or year after year. Oh my gosh, week after week. Maybe it feels like year after year. Maybe that was a little slip there. But week after week. So I really appreciate it. These are your webinars. You tell me who you want to talk to, and we reach out and we have those conversations. So as I mentioned, we're going to do things a little differently. We're going to have friends and colleagues log in and ask questions maybe that I haven't answered or I haven't asked, or and so our operators are going to be able to provide us a little more with that. So first up is Tomas and Casey, and I'm going to turn it over to Casey, who has taken the charge right now and going to move forward with this portion of the webinar. I will say that Tomas and Casey are going to talk for about 15 minutes and then they're dropping off. So if you have questions about this topic, shoot them into chat or into Q&A, and I will make sure that we get them answered. And with that, it's all you, Casey. You go.
All right. Thank you so much, Sherry. Really appreciate it. And just, first and foremost, a huge thank you to you and Betsy for everything you do. It's, to do this weekly, I know it takes a lot of, effort and a lot of planning. So it's on a supplier side, I just can't thank you enough for doing that. So it is much appreciated.
All right. Our pleasure.
Definitely agree, because I know 40 Zoom meetings and all, and they're quality meetings. I've been very impressed, Sherry, with you and your staff.
Thank you, Tomas. Well, you have been on multiple times, so we appreciate your willingness to always come on and share, whether it's good information or not, to come on and share with everyone on the call. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Perfect. Again, well, as Sherry mentioned, I'm Casey Cooper. I work with Minneapolis, the Convention and Visitors Bureau from Minneapolis, Minnesota. A lot of what I do is, when Tomas might come to Minneapolis, it'll be meeting with hotels and trying to get, some contracts signed. But I think it's always good to review. And while I have a good idea of my question and what it means, it's always good to hear from an operator and get their perspective on it and drill down a little bit more. So, Tomas, my question to you is, can you explain to us, what the difference is between static and dynamic rates? Because when we're talking with hotels, sometimes you're meeting with the DOS, sometimes you're meeting with the sales manager, sometimes you're meeting, with the revenue manager. But I think it's, as far as from a DMO perspective, it's good that I can explain this intelligently, even if you're not in town, to those hotels. So, can you walk me through what your description of a static versus dynamic rates, but also the pros and cons of those?
The difference between a static and a dynamic rate. Static rates, they can change from day to day, actually even hourly to hourly, based on the occupancy level in the hotel. A static rate is a set rate that you give a tour operator, receptive operator throughout the year. Now that doesn't mean that it's a set rate. It can be a set rate versus weekday and weekend during a special event. So you're not tied to, for instance, Minneapolis has several festivals. So they may offer us a static rate, a set rate for a season. But during that season, there might be a week where there's a special event where they'll give us a higher rate. So they're not losing money, so to speak, because obviously they can make more money during a special event. So they offer us still a static rate, a set rate, but for that special event. The dynamic rate, of course, fluctuates, and most tour operators, especially in Europe and many in Canada, do not work with a dynamic rate because they want to know what they can build their package around. They need to know the price structure. It can be weekend and weekday price, special event rates and all, but they need to know at the time when they're putting their brochures together. The pros and cons, really the pros for the hotel industry, when you have a static rate, you're less keeping track of your inventory. You're basically, everything's live. Most of the tour operators now, receptive or the larger ones like us, have a XML connection, whether it's through the hotel or through a chain property like Marriott, for instance. So they don't have to keep track of inventory because it's live through the system. With the static rate, they send us the blackouts, their updated rates if there's a convention that's booked in that time. The cons, or actually the pros of having a static rate, is you have price stability throughout the year. You know what you're going to get from season to season or year to year. For instance, in Rochester, Minnesota, they don't have that many different variables such as weekend, weekday price. They might have more, it's more of a business town, where Minneapolis, they have, some hotels will have a weekend and weekday depending on the volume that. So there's really no con with a static rate because the only con is if you don't offer a static rate, you're not going to get that business from the tour operators primarily in Europe because they want to know what their prices are from the beginning.
So is it, you know, and I've always heard this too, you know, a lot of the European tour operators, travel agents, because they are putting out, you know, their products for, you know, a year in advance, do they still use paper catalogs, or is that kind of going away? How is that working?
Many of them still do, believe it or not. It seems old school to us, but you know, a lot of the majority of, or not majority, many who go to a travel agent, and it's different from country to country. They're middle-aged to older, so they still like that physical brochure. But even the young people kind of want to know, to get an idea, bring that brochure home. This year is an exception because I think many of them forego the catalog for next year because of our current situation. So they basically asked us to extend our rates from the 2019-2020 season to the 2021, which most of our hotels did. Very few, in fact, I can't even think of any that raised their rates. Basically, they kept it at, you know, at the same level.
All right. You know, and just when I'm meeting with my hotels, I just want to reiterate, you know, what Thomas said. It's, you know, it's very true that I think when a hotel, if they don't necessarily know what an FIT contract is, or if they don't have experience working with it, that, you know, they understand that a static rate can vary from season or from weekday versus weekend. So I think once they understand that part of it, that they're much more willing to work with you and send you some rates. But it just takes somebody to kind of manage that and to overview it, to update those rates, whether it's weekly or every other day or something like that.
And many hotels have to understand, some, believe it or not, you and I have experienced this not only in Minneapolis, but I have throughout the Midwest and the South, is some hotels don't even understand the FIT contract business. They rather groups. But what they have to realize is when they sign an FIT contract, we're sending individuals and couples. FIT stands for Free Independent Traveler. That means anything that's not part of a group. So we're sending business throughout the year. So when you add up all those bookings, all those reservations through the year, it's like practically multiple groups that they're receiving, the number of room nights they're receiving. So it's important to work with tour operators to offer that.
Yeah, and then but it also gives you the opportunity to, if you have a 48-hour or 72-hour cutoff, you're still then able to sell those rooms on an OTA. So they really complement each other well. It's more long term versus short term. So I think if you, as a hotel, if you're able to manage that effectively, you can really work both angles of that.
Right, and some hotels, for instance, they have a cutoff of where we're allowed to keep that special rate. Many of them that we have, particularly our higher volume hotels, give us it to the day of arrival. Of course, most of our business pre-COVID was international, so they're not booking their trip a day or a week in advance, they're booking it months in advance. But we still can book it, but if they put a cutoff at 7 days or 3 days, they can cut us off, and it's based on availability. So it's a win-win situation for both. They're not holding a room till the day of arrival unless they have a big inventory in that hotel.
And we just had a great comment from Jackie Diaz, who is a hotelier down here in Florida. Great comment that says FIT for hotels helps build your base, and then you can yield accordingly around it as a hotelier. So I love the conversation and something I didn't ask all year long, so I apologize.
Well, Sherry, that's actually a good point, because what I also explained to the hotel is it's not just a preferential rate that we want. We're going to the trade shows, both domestic and international. So your hotel's going to come up. You can't get that marketing and that promotion without paying substantial amount of money for marketing. And we're doing that for you. So the tour operators, what they have to understand in the international market, I'm talking primarily, they're not going to book direct with a hotel. They're going to book with a tour operator, a receptive operator, or even an OTA. It depends on the circumstances. So if you're not in their catalog, or if you're not working with their receptive, you can contact them. You can meet them at IPW or whatever, a trade show. They're going to take your information. They're going to come back to the receptive and say, do you have a contract with them? And if we say no, they don't work with the FIT, it's dead in the water. So if they start working with you with FIT, of course, like my company, I can't speak for any other company. If we have an FIT contract with a hotel, we're going to send our group business to that hotel too, because we want higher volume with that, and we want to show loyalty. We're not going to shop around for a group price for other hotels that are not working with us on the FIT market.
And I'd just like to echo, what Jackie said earlier about how it helps to build a base. All the revenue managers I talk to, and in DOSs and GMs, and who wouldn't want to know who's coming in further out versus always wondering about last minute. So nailing down and really, making sure the hotels realize that those are some of the advantages, I think will go a long way. So.
And I noticed a comment from Jackie, and she had a comment about the length of stay. And internationally, typically stay longer in the major cities, such as Minneapolis, St. Paul's, than an OTA. And again, I'm not talking negative about an OTA. They have their place in the market by chance. But usually when you're dealing with a receptive operator, they're booking a complete package. They're booking an itinerary. So they're most likely going to stay multiple nights in larger cities than someone who's booking direct with your hotel.
I love that. So Casey, you jumped right in and introduced yourself, but what's new in Minneapolis right now? What do you guys have going on?
Well, it's all things winter right now because it's December. And as we were talking earlier, unfortunately, we may have a brown Christmas here. So that's very unusual for Minnesota not to have a lot of snow or even ice on our lakes. As you can see, the lake behind me should be frozen over right now. And we've had a little bit of a mild winter. So depends on who you ask. Some people might be happy. Some people might be sad that they can't do all the outdoor things that we normally do in winter. But that's what we do. We embrace the winter. We embrace the cold, whether it's from ice fishing to snowshoeing, fat tire biking. You throw a few extra layers on and it's all good. So that's it's all things outdoors right now, especially because a lot of things indoors are not happening. So. And
everyone should be outdoors right now. Tomas is from New Orleans. I'm from Tampa, Florida, and we both think that he's crazy. A few extra layers would be like blankets and blankets and blankets for us. But I hope that you get out and you get to do the things that you like to do and enjoy the holiday season. I thank you so much for taking your time and being on with us. And and bringing up some questions that are really important in the market right now, especially moving into to next year when we're all trying to figure out how we start building that base again, right? Because we don't have one right now, so we need to start building it again. Both Tomas and Casey are going to be on the other side of this webinar as soon as they drop off. So if you did have any questions that we didn't get to, put them in the chat, and I have no doubt that both of them will type right into you and answer that question for you. And oh, you know, we have a question that came up real quick. So before you go, Tomas, Greg is really interested to know, is it has become increasingly more difficult to obtain FIT contracts. Has it been more difficult for you to get FIT contracts for RTOs from major brands?
Actually, it's mainly because of the staff turnover, or some staff is furloughed. So getting in touch with and I'm not talking about the larger volume hotels that we have. Yes, we can usually, the GMs know us, et cetera. But yes, it is become more of a challenge. And especially some hotels, believe it or not, are still closed, and they're not opening until May or June, which not many people realize that. There's some hotels that we work in Nashville and other cities that are still not open. But I did want to say one other thing that's important about a static contract. Most of the French tour operators I'm working with, they want the static rate, and they want to make sure that the rate is guaranteed till next year, because they need to put their pricing structure together, and they need to guarantee what they canceled in 2000 is still valid for 2021, because the French laws are very strict about that. And they want to make sure that they're very lenient, the hotels being, about cancellation policies, you know, and we're not talking special events. That's a whole other ball game. But typically they want, where if there is another outbreak, they're able to cancel without penalty.
Perfect. All right. Well, guys, I appreciate you being on, and I'm going to let you drop off and enjoy the rest of the webinar. I really appreciate you, and I hope you have a great holiday season. Thanks for taking some time with us today.
Same to you, Sherry. Thank you, Casey. Talk to you soon.
I think we have Eric and Michelle that are going to turn on their cameras now and kind of pop in with us. Just like magic. Just happened. Just like that.
That's awesome.
How are you guys doing?
Great, great.
Yeah.
We're getting snow here, right, Eric? We're getting a blizzard.
He's like, I don't have snow. I want snow, and you guys are getting snow. Do you want it?
I'll enjoy it for a little bit. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful white Cape Cod, Massachusetts here. So I'll take it.
Love it. Well, Eric, I'm turning it over to you. This is your ball game, my friend. So tell everybody where you're from in that beautiful Baltimore Harbor I see behind you.
It gets confused for Boston a lot. I've noticed in tour operator.
If you were, you know, it's the Boston and Baltimore, it just kind of rolls off the tongue. And I just talked to my nephew who's in Boston and going through his first snowstorm. So it's on the brain. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Sherry, Betsy, and all of you over there. I mean, these have been really great webinars, and it's just great to have a good connection like this, you know, so frequently. So thank you. My name is Eric Masterton. I'm the Director of Tourism for Visit Baltimore, Maryland. I actually work remotely in Vermont, taking care of my elderly mother. So we are getting snow here, but I know they're getting snow down there too. My question for you, Michelle, as many of you may or may not know, Baltimore is hosting ABA Marketplace, June 18th through the 22nd. And my question is, do you plan on attending? And if not, what is your main reason? And if you are attending, and thank you for that, what things are you going to be looking for from the city, the hotels, convention center? With respect to cleanliness interaction.
Great, thank you. Cut out just for a second there, Eric. But first, let me thank you, Eric and Sherry and Betsy, for having me. Michelle Pino, Northeast Unlimited Tours. We're a receptive tour operator for the entire Northeast, New England, New York, Mid-Atlantic region, Eastern and Atlantic Canada. And to answer you, Eric, we are attending ABA. ABA, woohoo! ABA for us is one of the leading tourism shows for us to attend. And course, this particular one will be a bit different. I'm pleased that you were able to move it, and which was really you were able to help Teresa and I decide that it is still so important to attend. What are we looking for from Baltimore as a destination and a city is obviously for you to showcase all the wonderful attractions, hotels, restaurants, itineraries that you can show us. I know that I was pleased to early on assist in kind of scanning through some of your pre and post FAMs. And so, which is super, super important, really to invite the operators in prior to and after the event to see all of the different regions. And for me, my knowledge of Baltimore and Maryland, I still learned so much more. So I'm really pleased that we'll be able to come into the city in some warmer weather and be able to explore and for us develop some new itineraries. I'm so happy for you that you're able to have this opportunity with ABA and to further to that with being able to all gather. I think now more than ever, setting aside safety is obviously a no-brainer. So really now more than ever, it's so important to connect with all of our tourism peers and really work together. I mean, I'm super happy that we're all able to do these Zooms. I mean, technology is amazing these days. But I think it's so important for people to be together and have that FaceTime with each other as we all evolve and move forward, and finding ways to create new business together. And because it's evolving, and we're all learning that, is specific to group. Those groups are looking more different as we evolve. So hope I'm answering your questions.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, everything has changed so much. I mean, being my first marketplace, and I've hosted other conventions, but this is the first and the largest that I've hosted. It may be in the history of ABA, and I'm pretty sure I'm right. I'm sure Lynn would back me up on this, but this has been one of the hardest conventions to plan because we had to change, winter sightseeing tours into summer sightseeing tours. We're very excited about being probably one of the only ABA conferences that will be able to showcase, a Northeast coastal city in the summertime. So that's been really awesome. It's been challenging, but I did, certainly want to put out there that our convention center recently became GBAC certified, which a lot of convention centers are, which is Global Biorisk Advisory Council. It's an accreditation that you really have to work hard to get. And then I have taken on a new role while tourism is kind of in a lull, as the new medical concierge for Baltimore. So my job is to really talk to meeting planners, tour operators, receptive operators overseas, folks, and just let them know what we're doing, what the hotels and the airport and the trains and all that sort of stuff, what they're doing to make it safer to meet. You can't say safe these days, right? But make it safer to meet. And this will probably be one of the safest marketplaces to ever be held. So I thank you for your, just for your great insight, because you guys are the tour operators, and of course it's not going to be a great show if you're not there. So we're really happy that you're going to be there, and hopefully everybody on the call will be able to take some great warmth from this and be able to go online and register, because we'd love to see you in Baltimore.
Absolutely. Thank you. Look forward to seeing you.
Me
So
too.
I have a couple questions, because if anybody knows me, and you guys do, after 40 webinars, since the end of March, I can't keep my mouth shut. So I do have a couple of follow-up questions. One, I need to say, Eric, that so impressed with Baltimore and working with the American Bus Association. I know you changed dates several times and you worked really hard to find them alternatives during a time that they really needed it. And for them to be able to shift to June, ABA in June, who knew, and what a great opportunity for both of your destinations. So thank you so much for that. I mentioned last week on the webinar that one of my favorite ABAs in history was when it was in Baltimore, right? And right after you won the Super Bowl that year, it was great. So I remember that one very, very fondly.
Not Michelle's favorite team, but
I remember that convention. It was fun.
I didn't mean to bring up bad memories. Sorry, it was a good memory for me.
there is a good baseball game.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Eric.
Sorry, there is the Blue Jays are in town. Toronto Blue Jays are in town for against the O's. So you never know,
And then Michelle, you mentioned something that it was, that meeting in person was more important than ever. And I totally agree with you. And do you think, meeting in person is important because we get to see each other and we're just longing for that. But for a couple of years now, in-person meetings have been questioned by budgets, and do you need to travel, and do you need to do that, and can't you just pick up the phone and call someone and do what you're doing? So yeah, do you guys think that the in-person meetings, our travel and trade shows on both the meeting side and the leisure side are more important than ever now and will remain that way? Like, has the industry flipped a little bit to where they were kind of moving out of it to now they're back onto it full force?
Well, I do. And I think with everything that we've gone through, we are going through, I feel, again, I comment on safety. And I think by June, I feel, fingers crossed, that we'll all be in a safer place to meet again. And I know that, I'm sure ABA and Baltimore are going to work to keep the environment probably will be a little different, but still. So to answer your question, yes, because I think us in tourism, what are we creating, right? We're creating travel experiences. So if we are not going to lead by example, how can we possibly encourage our travelers to travel, and that it will be safe to travel? And so, yeah, I just think there's so much, you can only with Zooming and virtual and phone, we've all been able to accomplish a great deal, but it doesn't touch upon that human interaction. And perhaps we can't be hugging and everything like we're accustomed to doing. It's still being able to be face to face and really recognizing the importance of the in-person shows.
Could not agree more. And I think, I have some funny polls, and you guys are going to have to hang with me because I've never done polls before, and I think that I have it right. But you made a comment, Eric, that made me laugh out loud because, 2020 has been the year of buzzwords. And you were like, well, when tourism's not, as strong as it is, my new gig, I feel like you have maybe pivoted to a new role, which is one of my most hated buzzwords of the year so far is pivoting, because you hear it over and over again. So I am super curious as to what other people are feeling. So I'm going to throw up a poll right now just to see what word drives you guys crazy.
Oh God, that was an easy one for me.
Yeah, right. They're all there, right? So I'm gonna let it go for a little while, see what people are saying, because truly, pivoting drives me crazy. But I've said it on the webinar, and I think I've even used it in a title of webinars before for this year.
I think I say unprecedented about 8 million times a year, just as a joke now. It's like,
Right,
my mother
exactly.
will be like, I'm going to go into town.
Time. Yeah.
That's unprecedented.
I love that. All right, I'm going to end the polling. I think we've come to an end here and share the results with everyone. And right there you go. Who knew? Who knew? Unprecedented. I think it's because you say it all the time. That's how people feel about it.
It's funny.
All right. Well, I absolutely appreciate you two so much, and thank you for taking the time to come on and tell us a little bit about ABA and what's going on in your world, Michelle. And if we have any other questions, we will obviously put them in the chat, or as always, I will email after and make sure that we get those answered. But thanks for having some fun with us today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Sure. And I think Mr. Keith Snowd is going to come on and join us now and turn on his camera. We have our esteemed supplier that was going to be talking with you, my friend, is in the Central Time Zone, and you know we may work in the travel industry, but we still get Central and Eastern mixed up, and that time zone change all the time. So you're stuck with me. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Wow. I don't know if stuck's the right word. I'm lost.
So, when we came back, or when like the first webinar that you did with us, it was interesting to me because Kaleidoscope, the student industry has taken a hit this year, just like everybody else. But even more so because there's obviously no field trips or band trips or sports trips or education trips without school being in session, and school's not, it's virtual, so you're not having those. And then on top of it, you throw in COVID and the safety that the rest of the travel industry is going through. It has been, typically your selling season, and next spring is generally your travel season. So what are some predictions for 2021 in the student realm?
Well, again, I said this the last time, my crystal ball is, tuned and ready, but we actually had some groups travel this past week. And Texas, yes, Texas marching bands who had us put trips together for their marching band finals. And our Texas team, we lived vicariously through them in the office as they were enjoying time with the groups that we had there. And it was great. So I am more optimistic this week than I've been in a long time for many reasons. But as the vaccine rolls out, I don't think that's our silver bullet solution. In fact, I don't think there is a silver bullet solution, but I do see more talk from our teachers about getting something planned. So I do believe that as we move into the beginning of 2021, we are going to start to see teachers and educators plan their trips, whether they're for fall of 2021 or whether they're for summer 2021, or even into planning ahead for the spring 2022 trip. I do believe it's going to start happening. Yes, I see Amy was proud to host those 3 bands last week at Drury Hotels. She did for us. So that's, but that is what the sense that I am getting about student travel, and that it's going to be evolving here soon. So I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we have started to hear from our educators that they're thinking about planning. So
I love that, and Tomas just like put in the chat. I love that we're not doing a very good job of telling everybody where our panelists are from. So I just started talking with Keith like everything was there. So Keith, let me just say that you were from Kaleidoscope Adventures, and Steve just joined us. So this is like double duty for students, which I love. So Steve is with Global Alliance Travel. I got that right, correct?
Close. Global Travel Alliance.
I swear I'm not dyslexic. Maybe I am. I think that's normally with numbers, but I'm going to throw it in there for words. as we're having a conversation on students, Steve, we're talking about, you know, what your crystal ball says for 2021 and how optimistic you are. Keith just, you know, let us know that, hey, you had a couple of groups travel this week, which I'm loving. And I also wanted to say that after our first conversation that we had, and both of you guys were on there together, which I love, was you guys, I just said I hated the word pivot and I was just about to use it again. But I mean, you guys changed some of the direction, Keith, of what you were doing. You started some FIT programs. You started some webinar programs, you know, online for people. So how have those been going?
It's been a slow start. I'm not going to lie, but we've learned a lot. And we've had some great response to some recent events that we've done online, and are making progress on the tours that were not student focused. But it's been a learning curve for us, but it's a good learning curve because it helps us diversify our business to give us a more solid footing as we move forward. So that has been a really great thing for us. The online component has helped us learn how to connect with our educators in a more positive way that really provides content that is more relevant to them than just always talking to them about travel. So it has given us some really great connections and really great partnerships that we've forged. So there have been a lot of positives that have come out of our experience in 2020 for our business long term.
Love that. So Steve, we had Carol Ann on last week. We were talking about the future of conferences and meetings and how important that was. And she talked a little bit about August and CITA's annual conference and how it was moving forward. I'm asking you this question specifically because you're the current chairman of the board for CITA. Congratulations there. What a year to be chairman of the board. You picked a good one, my friend. Working hard. So how are you guys feeling moving forward? You know, with conference in August, you know, it's a good time and everyone's saying second half of the year.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. Sorry I was a little bit late, had another meeting at the same time. But yeah, when I was asked 2 years ago to be president of CITA, you know, business was good. We were booming and certainly didn't anticipate the different kinds of challenges that we'd experienced this year. But it's been good. I've learned a lot of new things. Definitely appreciate all the members that have been reaching out for help and giving encouragement and other things. As far as in-person meetings, we're kind of taking it 1 week at a time and seeing. We did try to have, attempted to have a meeting later in January. We usually have a smaller meeting every year in January and then our large meeting in August. So the meeting this year in January, we scaled down the costs and we were going to try to do it in Nashville. And was working with a great hotel there, put in social distancing measures and everything, and gave it a shot and just didn't get the enrollments we were hoping for. So that was just canceled last week. And that's going to get rolled into a virtual conference we're doing the following month. It's going to be combined with our international travel summit. So that will be a virtual event coming up. Yeah, and we get it, you know, the timing was bad to try to make decisions for this coming month now in January. But as far as August, our large conference, we are looking at all options. You know, years ago with the large conferences, you have to start planning at least 2 years in advance. So that's when we went under contract to do New York City and have it be a big celebration. It's an anniversary year for CITA. And so we were very excited and still are about that. But now, you know, we're having to look at a couple different factors. One, you know, New York City is still a hotspot that people are nervous about. And understandably, New York City is a more expensive destination. So in normal years, that would be fine. But this year, when everyone's kind of hurting for budgets, you know, paying $350 for a hotel room is a lot. So we get that. So we are looking at, you know, like everyone else, looking at possible virtual options, looking at possible alternate destinations. But right now it's still on, you know, until we decide otherwise. So like I said, a week at a time. we revisit the situation. NYC and company has been great to work with. And if we do have to change it, it won't be gone forever. We'll just postpone that destination to another year.
Absolutely. I was going to say, you're looking, and Lisa's on from Memphis. Lisa, chime in on this if you'd like, because Lisa is an ex-destination that's hosted CIDA, and Keith and I are ex-conference chairs. I mean, we've each taken a role in hosting a conference, so we know exactly.
You're really going back in history there, Sherry. So I don't know.
She's going way back, isn't she? But we love her. We love her. Definitely. I guess I just want to thank you all for waiting on me, Sherry. I apologize, for being late. Just got a lot going on, and as you know, I'm ready for 2021. Ready for 2020 to be over with, and and be rebound ready. Especially for the state of Tennessee. But with Keith, I had asked you this question before when we had the last conference. I wanted to know, what are you guys doing to stay relevant? How are you guys doing with your business now? What are you doing? I'm curious to know, and I want to know how we can help. Are you doing something with the adults? What's going on with the students? Are you doing anything virtual?
And Keith, you take that first, and then we'll come to Steve, so you guys can both answer that question. Relevance right now, when you're not necessarily selling as much as you'd like, and I think that goes for all of us on the call.
Yeah.
Well, yes. So you'll be happy to know that we are promoting a trip for families to Memphis right now for the summer. We're trying to get people signed up on. So it's one of several destinations that we have picked, and it's been great because partners like you and the partners in your city and other cities that we have picked to curate those tours have been fantastic at helping us with some marketing tools. We even received some videos customized just to us that we can use for the promotion. So it's been fantastic. So that's one way that we changed and tried something new. But from a relevance standpoint, we really took the time to connect with our partners. And so just recently, we sponsor 3 podcasts in the band world. And all 3 podcasters got together and did a virtual roundtable online, and we made it a free event. It was highly successful, worked out really well. So we're working on more of that with our partnership with Trump International and partnership with our podcasters and other educators to create more relevant content that meets them where they really need help and actually are looking for ideas and things. So that's what we're doing from a relevance standpoint. Sherry, I wanted to mention, I saw a question about the inauguration day in there. There are bands that are considering that. We don't have one, but if anybody knows how the process works, it's actually the incoming administration that kind of decides who gets to go. So that process probably just started recently.
Probably just started. So if anyone didn't see the question, there was a question about student bands, marching bands in general, not just students, asking about if anyone was considering performing at inauguration with the lull in travel right now and safety concerns. And, to echo what Keith said there, I think everybody would like to consider it. I just don't think they've decided how they're having that inauguration yet. So starting that process and seeing what will happen. I'm going to turn it over to Steve and have him answer Lisa's question from Global Travel Alliance. I got it right that time. On relevancy there.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wear the 2 hats, working for Global Travel and then being the CIDA president. From the CIDA standpoint, being relevant, we just continue providing education for the members. Last week we had some educator panels, so we had some group leaders that were group leaders of student educational tours strictly on, and we had the participants who attended, and that was tour operators and suppliers, was able to ask what they're experiencing, what kind of challenges they have from the standpoint of administration, teachers, parents. And then we had one for performance education as well. And doing, meetings like this. We have a social later today, a site of social. So not as much virtual, but still trying to have a lot of education out there. And from our company, from Global Travel, we haven't tried the virtual route as well. To give an update of kind of where we're at is also a week at a time. Right now, presently, we're starting to move our March trips, both domestic trips and international trips, because we still had amazingly some international trips still on the books. But sadly have to start looking at some of those. So trips we're moving now that were scheduled for this March, we're moving no earlier than Memorial Day. So some are June, some are moving to next fall, and some are even asking about moving a year out, because we've been moving trips about 4 months at a time. So some of these are trips that were in the spring that were moved to the summer, that were moved to the fall, and they just keep getting bumped. So some people, they're getting exhausted from the postponement, and they're like, okay, let's play it safe. Let's move our trip 1 year out and move it to 22. So experiencing the full gamut of that. And other trips, it kind of depends on the destination, what the local regulations are, et cetera. If it's in more of a hotspot, it'll probably be moved further out. And international are getting moved quite a bit out, as travel hasn't yet opened.
Got it. Well, I cannot thank both of you enough for jumping on today with Miss Lisa, who was able to join us and from Visit Memphis, and give us a quick little update on what's going on in your world and in the student market in general. It's been a big question throughout all of these webinars, so I really appreciate you. And Lisa, I know you're muted, but I want to let you know that when all of these webinars started and we started talking about video fans and video sites and things that you could do online and keeping yourself relevant, I've watched your webinars that you've done. They're excellent. And I've watched the information that you've sent out on your attractions, especially your zoo, that have done all of their education courses online for families and students to just log into and see for free. So well done. Destination and everything within it's doing a great job. So thank you guys so much for being here, and have a great holiday.
Thanks,
Love
Sherry.
you. Bye.
Thank you.
So now I am going to ask Mr. Alfredo Gonzalez to turn on his video for a minute. Hey, look, there you are. So for those of you who don't know Alfredo is with AG Global. Did I get that right?
AG Hospitality.
But your email is global.
Email name, it's incidental.
So the other big thread that we've had throughout this year is about airlines and what's going on with the airlines and what we should be looking for with airlines. And we had a conversation early with some of the airports, but some new data has come out. And one of the many hats Alfredo wears is airline consulting. So I am going to pepper you with some questions about the airlines for a little while and see what kind of new data is out there. But first, tell everybody, what you do and the many hats that you wear, and kind of let's go from there.
Well, thank you, Sherry, for having me on today, and great to work with you again, since we've never done this before.
Never done this before.
Never done it before.
Anyone that doesn't know Alfredo and I worked together at Visit Florida back in the day, like 4 years ago. Yeah.
Lifetime. No, when I left Visit Florida, I started AG Hospitality, and it's been an amazing ride. I never knew that right after leaving Visit Florida, I would actually get a company that actually worked. And so I've been blessed. I represent Discover Long Island, which is a great client. I got a chance to work with Discover Destination Niagara Falls on the USA side. That unfortunately, due to COVID, we had to put a stop to that. And I've been lucky enough to work with Frontier Airlines and now also with the Daytona Beach International Airport, which is where I'm right now. And yes, Sherry, the aviation world is going crazy, and it has since March. And there's so much that's going on, and between the developments domestic and developments international, or the lack thereof international, it is a very interesting environment, but I'm lucky enough to be able to work for an airline and airport. So sometimes I get information that is relevant, and hoping that sometimes some of this information can be shared with my friends in the travel industry so they can make the right decisions when things at the right time come back.
So here's my layman's question for you.
Be gentle. Be gentle.
I will try. I'm not promising anything, but I will try. So my layman's question is, I know the borders are closed. That's the question everybody wants to know is, when are the borders open? When can people actually travel here again? But there's flights that are traveling. I mean, right? Flights are going back and forth. We're putting vaccines on flights. You know, what does that mean for seats, right? I mean, what's the relationship there for passenger traffic with these flights going back and forth carrying vaccines?
That's a very interesting question, because if you had asked me that question 6 months ago, I probably would have said, I don't know. But a different dynamic has presented itself right now, and that is actually the vaccine. And the vaccine needs to be transported, not only domestically, but also internationally. So here you are, a week and a half or so into having a vaccine approved by the FDA, probably having a second one approved tomorrow. Now, prior to last week, the first batch of vaccines that is going to be needed to do first responders, medical personnel, high-risk individuals, senior citizens, nursing homes, and so forth, in order to get the first batch, it would take about 8,747's cargo to transport that many vaccines, not only domestically, but also internationally. So you can imagine FedEx and UPS that have the contracts for Pfizer don't have enough belly space to transport these. So we're going to have to use commercial aircraft, their belly, to transport some of the vaccines, especially to rural areas. And so overnight, because of the need to transport vaccine in commercial aircraft, we're going to have a little over 5 million additional seats in the market. Now, that's going to be staged or staggered throughout the next 90 days. But I think it's a giant opportunity to look at this, because the airlines weren't expecting to get these airplanes off the desk or dust them off and put them back in service, but it will happen now. So some destinations had been told, we're not going to be able to bring back service until maybe June, July, based on demand. Well, demand has nothing to do with it. The airplane's going to be there, and the airplane's going to have to fly with vaccine as a cargo. So it's going to be a passenger opportunity between basically now and especially tomorrow, with the FDA approval of the Moderna vaccine that doesn't need to be refrigerated at minus 70 million degrees, but at, basically just regular refrigeration. That need for those vaccines to be transported is going to create an opportunity for passenger service as well.
I love it. I think everyone has their fingers crossed on when that's going to pick up. One of the things that we've heard over and over again, right? We're pretty comfortable that domestic traveling is happening. We've seen domestic carriers add flights into different destinations, preparing for that consumer confidence, when that level rises. But one thing we've heard over and over again is that business travel, we shouldn't expect next year. We shouldn't expect that increase in business travel. And so people have gotten really used to, okay, second quarter, summer, leisure travel, maybe not business, maybe not corporate. But Sir Tim Clark, pretty important dude in the airline world, president and CEO of Emirates, he said on CNN that he's not worried about business travel bouncing back, and that he thinks that it will, and that the opportunity and desire for business travel will be great. That's opposite of everything else that we've heard. Yep. Why? What gives?
It's crazy, because we've all been thinking that, and we've heard it, that business travel was not going to come back, and it's not going to come back as robust and not as fast. But you talk about somebody like Sir Tim Clark that runs one of the largest airline operations in the world, and he compared the COVID situation with after 9/11 and after the recession. And he did mention the fact that after 9/11, we started implementing things like TSA checking and security and everything else. And yes, it deterred some business travel for a period of time. And it came back, and it came back stronger. We just learned how to adapt to those conditions. Then we had the recession, and the recession was different. It lasted longer. We had like about a 2-year period. And at that time, if you remember, the words teleconferencing started airing here and there, and oh yeah, we can do this teleconferencing and so forth. But it proved that the in-person meeting was still a stronger way to do business. And very shortly after the recession, back in 2009 and 10, we saw a giant boom. And if you listen to somebody like Sir Tim Clark, he knows that. I mean, Emirates not only is the largest airline, but it also has the largest connectors. So he is a great gauge of information when you're looking at this. And he predicted that business travel will come back. There's going to be some elements of what he called the Zoom fatigue. In 2021, the enhancement of safety protocols, the effects and side effects of the vaccines, and a calmer political environment are actually going to help the business travel. And he sees business travel coming back. It's not going to be business as usual, but it'll be business at hand.
Good point. Do you have I could talk to you about this forever. We talk on the phone about it forever. But we have about 4 minutes left, and I have one more person I want to get to before we close out for the year. So any final thoughts on airlines? What we should be looking for next year? What are maybe some markers that are going to help us understand when things might be getting back to a higher volume of passengers coming in?
Well, I think that the Pfizer vaccine announcement was a game changer. Now with Moderna coming back tomorrow, hopefully. And remember, there's 127 companies worldwide making vaccines. There's a Chinese company that's coming up with something. There's a Russian company coming. So there's all these. This is not a domestic situation that will affect air travel. This is a global situation. So my take, and again, it's what I look when I look at the data, I look at the airline data, I look at the arrivals data, I look at the CDC. So within the next 6 months, with the new data on effects and side effects, we got to look at both. What are the side effects? And as we know, the UK started vaccinating about 10 days before we did. And I'm going to use these words loosely, but in a way, in about 30 days, we'll be looking at what the effects and side effects of the vaccination process was in the UK, and we'll take a lot from that. We're going to learn what did they see and how did it affect their population. The enhancements of safety protocols, that's going to be something like we learned back after 9/11 that in order to go to security, you have to take your shoes off. There are safety protocols and rules and things that we will have to get used to as we move forward. Pent-up demand, Zoom fatigue, and like this is over and over. I hear this everywhere, and I hear it more internationally. I do domestically. The calmer political environment, and we'll leave that at that. But those factors, we will see an increase in travel, and it's going to be accelerated. The announcement of the second vaccine in the U.S. not only will accelerate the pace by about twice the speed, but also the demand is going to probably double or triple. I foresee having a May normally, you and I know it's a shoulder season. Things normally start building for a summer season. I think we're going to have one hell of a summer. I think that people are tired, whether you call it Zoom fatigue, whether you be stay home fatigue, whether you have a jogging pants fatigue, whatever those factors, especially in our business, are going to push us and everyone else back in the air and back into travel. And I foresee pretty much it won't come back. It won't be 2019 numbers, but it'll be very favorable numbers compared to what we're seeing right now.
Love it. My friend, thank you so much for coming on, giving us a few tidbits. You're getting lots of shout outs here on the chat, so check that out. And have a great holiday. I'm sure I will talk to you before then. So
I know we will. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Have a good year.
So one last final guest, and I promised her that I would make it as absolutely short as possible. So look what we did. We made it as short as possible. I've been talking about Betsy Cooper all year long. And she's not a huge fan of being on camera. So my friend, hello, how are you?
I'm very good. Happy holidays to everybody. And thank you so much for joining us each week.
Absolutely. These webinars have been fun. Betsy and I have on the back end, called people and planned and tried to decide, what we should be talking about and who we should be talking to, and could not have done this without you, my friend.
Oh, thank you. It's been great. It's been fun. I mean, we've come a long way since the beginning when we did our practice run and people had their videos upside down. So
yeah, that was one of my favorites. Yeah, and I'm not technologically advanced. So I'm like, I don't know how you even got your video upside down in the first place. I don't know how to turn it back around.
Yes. So, well, it's great. And we are looking forward to a great 2021. And it's been exciting. So hopefully we'll be able to see everybody in person when we start the shows. And if not, we'll have these webinars. But it's been a really great, I think they've been great so far.
I think they've been awesome. And Tour Operator Land has sponsored them this whole time. So before we wrap up and let everybody go, what is your, 2 cents, what Tour Operator Land is and why you should be on it?
Well, Tour Operator Land, I'm just going to go quickly. It's a B2B site. It's contact and content driven. We have over 4,800 operators from around the world that are using it. And it is, they have tracking notifications whenever they open the portals, photos, and itineraries. It's just a great extension to your marketing, and it's a great way to get your information out to the operators to build programs to your destinations or attractions.
And thousands of downloads. I get the reports. Thousands and thousands of downloads have happened this year of royalty-free photos and itineraries all over the U.S. and Canada. So thank you. I know we're going quick. Your hair looks awesome, by the way. It's 2:00. We have kept you guys longer than we promised you that we would. So from Betsy and I and everybody at Connect Travel, thank you so much for continuing to log in week after week and spending time with us and just helping everyone stay connected. We love it. We will continue to do these into next year. Obviously, the holidays are coming up, so you won't see us back or get an email from us about this until the first week of January. We'll be back on the 7th of January with more topics and figuring out how we navigate 2021 together. So happy holidays, everyone, and thank you so much for everything that you've done with us this year. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Bye, guys.